Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to Monday's North West Tonight. Thank you for joining us. Our top story. A 96-year-old driver is spared jail after killing another pensioner leaving their bridge club. Tonight, there are calls for the oldest drivers to face a mandatory retest. Also tonight, back on song, Mike Peters, frontman of The Alarm, on how a cancer clinical trial has given him his life back. Drowning in misery, United back their boss as the Old Trafford fans are left feeling washed up after another defeat. And an unlikely friendship. This is the tale of the pig and the hen, and how Gilbert and Miss Coco became besties.
And it's been a very poor start to the week. We've got a weather warning in force, we've got flood warnings, crashing waves on the Isle of Man, but there is good news in the forecast. So join me at the end of the programme and I'll give you all the details.
A 96-year-old Merseyside woman, who is thought to be the oldest person to be convicted of causing death by dangerous driving, has been spared jail. June Mills from Ainsdale was given a suspended sentence when she appeared at Liverpool Crown Court today. Let's go live to our Merseyside reporter, Andy Gill. He was in court listening to events and joins us now live from there. Andy, first of all, just remind us of the background to all this.
Well, June Mills left court in a wheelchair today and covered up from the rain, the same wheelchair she used in court when she was sentenced this morning. At an earlier hearing where her face was not covered, she admitted causing death by dangerous driving, making her, as you said, probably the oldest person in the UK to be sentenced for that offence. This all happened in Elbow Lane in Formby on Merseyside last August when she left her bridge club. She lost control of her car and hit two fellow bridge club members. 76-year-old Brenda Joyce was killed and 80-year-old Jennifer Ensor was injured, and that is why Mrs Mills had ended up in court today.
So Andy, just tell us what happened in court.
Well, the court heard that Mrs Mills said that her pedal, her accelerator pedal, had dropped away beneath her when this happened. But tests on the car after the incident showed there was no fault with the accelerator and no fault with the brake either. Her defence said she was devastated. She felt shame and guilt, and what happened would haunt her forever. The court was told that after a career as a careers advisor, she, in retirement, had helped volunteer with young offenders and with and also with victims of crime, and she'd given a house to Ukrainian refugees. Judge Simon Medland said on any view and from any angle this was an utter tragedy. He said common sense spoke against giving her an immediate custodial sentence, though that was an option which was open to him. Instead, he gave her an 18-month sentence which was suspended for 18 months. She'll have to pay £2,000 in fines and costs, and she was banned from driving for 5 years, though the court heard she's already given up her licence voluntarily.
Andy, thank you very much. Andy Gill there in Liverpool. Well, June Mills's case will reopen the debate about older drivers. New road casualty figures were released by the government only last week. They show that 25% of all fatalities last year were drivers aged over 70. And while young men aged 17 to 24 are more likely to be killed or injured than almost any other group, both men and women aged 86 and over are the highest risk of all. I asked Nick Lees from IAM RoadSmart, formerly the Institute of Advanced Motorists, if drivers aged over 85 should face a retest.
I think there is a case there for retest. It is going to be very highly politically charged to introduce something like that, but we shouldn't be afraid of confronting this issue. What I would say is that older drivers are tend to be pretty good at self-regulating. They will stop driving when they feel they are no longer safe to do so. But we do feel that there is a need to give them a helping hand, so to speak. So, for us, we've asked the government to put some funding forward to help GPs prescribe mature driving courses, so that helps older people to understand whether or not they have the skills necessary to be driving at a certain age.
And possibly as a compromise, if you like, you could, at the moment it's 70 where people have to reapply for their licence and do it at regular intervals. That possibly, given that people are perhaps living longer, perhaps living in better health later into life, that age could be raised maybe to 75.
Yeah, absolutely. We could look at all sorts of things here. But what I would say is that we should be guided by the statistics and we should be guided by fact. And, it is absolutely true that we now have more older people that are dying on our roads compared to 2013, for example. But that is simply because it's a good thing. We're all living longer. We're all driving into an older age. I do think there is a role here for all of us, family, friends, etc., to have those conversations with our relatives if we feel that perhaps their driving isn't up to a certain standard. But, we at IAM RoadSmart, we provide mature driver assessments or reviews so people can, for 1 hour session, just come down to us and we will take you out and we will give you some feedback, some honest feedback. And that's the crucial thing here. We have to make sure that we are honest with people and give them the feedback that they need to understand whether or not it is a wise decision for them to carry on driving or whether or not it is perhaps time to wind down their driving careers.
Nick Lees from IAM RoadSmart, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Now, next tonight, this is Mike Peters. You may or may not recognise him. He's the lead singer of the 80s rock band The Alarm. He's got plenty of reason to celebrate too. That's because Mike's in remission from an aggressive cancer, and that is thanks to the building he's standing in front of, the Christie Hospital in Manchester, an NHS drug trial. Mike had to cancel a US tour after being diagnosed with a fast-growing lymphoma called Richter's syndrome in April. He is now clear of cancer and hopes that the next stage of his treatment will cure him. Mairead Smith has been chatting today to Mike and his wife Jules.
Mike Peters has lived with cancer for almost 30 years, but his diagnosis of a fast-growing lymphoma last April could have killed him.
I heard the word Richter's syndrome. I didn't really know what that was. I do what most people do, go on the internet. It frightened the life out of us. And it says I've got 2 months to live, 12 months at the most, without treatment.
The news had a huge impact on his wife, Jules, who survived breast cancer.
I found it hard to pick myself back up. I felt like I'd been given a terminal diagnosis. Two words, poor prognosis. Even a letter from the amazing Christie Hospital said poor prognosis, which I think Mike tried to hide away from me.
Mike was offered the chance to take part in a drug trial at the Christie, targeted therapy called acalabrutinib alongside standard chemotherapy.
I was prepared to try anything. I thought, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And I think that's good for most people who are in this kind of situation with blood cancers. Don't be afraid of having a clinical trial. Because sometimes you think a clinical trial, your head's going to explode or something's going to happen untoward. But this time it really worked for me, and I'm really grateful to the Christie for getting me into the remission stage.
Mike is now cancer-free and says his music has helped him to cope, even playing at the World Cancer Congress in Geneva 2 weeks ago.
I think it's helped me cope mentally with the ordeal of facing up to cancer, all the diagnosis, the treatment, the endless walks down the corridors, the endless trips to hospital. I think the music has definitely fortified me.
Mike's treatment has been led by Professor Adrian Bloor.
He's been living with blood cancer for many years, a slow-growing disorder. And what Richter's syndrome is where it transforms into something that's much more aggressive and grows much more quickly. The trial's got him into a complete remission. We can't find any evidence of disease, but what we now need to do is to consolidate that with a bone marrow transplant, and the hope is what we'll achieve is a complete cure of all of his blood cancer problems.
The search is now on for a suitable donor so Mike can undergo a stem cell transplant.
I think today we represent the new face of cancer now, where you don't have to be as afraid. We're the beneficiaries of the new drugs. It's an incredible time for humanity because we have got cancer on the run. I've got a chance now to get to that cure, and I'm going to grab it with all I've got.
Mairead Smith, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
We wish Mike and his family all the very best. Let's hope that next stage of his treatment goes really well, touch wood. Now, the weather today has been awful. You don't need me to tell you that. Kay will be here with the full weather forecast later, but flooding has badly affected parts of the region, particularly in Seaforth and Bootle on Merseyside. The area's seen road closures and train cancellations. A rail line between Wigan and Southport was also closed at one stage. As I say, Kay will have the very latest for us at the end of the programme. Elsewhere tonight, Oasis have announced 5 new tour dates in North America next year, including Toronto and Los Angeles. 16 years since the band last performed in the US. And guess what? They've ditched their controversial dynamic ticket pricing for selling the tickets to these gigs. Now, Blackpool Tower, of course, if you go just a short walk behind the tower and the bright lights of Blackpool Prom, is part of the town called Revo. We've been there a few times over the years. I remember having a very enjoyable morning at one of the social clubs there. Well, according to government statistics, Revo's the second most deprived neighbourhood in England. But as Molly Brewer has been finding out, you don't have to scratch too far behind the surface to find a very different story.
The statistics for Revo are grim. It's the lowest average income in the country, it's the lowest life expectancy for men in the country, worst 1% of all the health statistics. But when you look around, it doesn't feel like a grim, desolate place. It's actually quite bustling and it's quite lively, and people will talk to each other and say hello to each other in the street.
Hello dear, how are you?
I'm all right.
Go on, Deborah, now we get the important bits. Let's find you a job.
Welcome to Revolution, a community hub that's been running for 10 years in one of the most deprived areas in the country, Revo in Blackpool. The project is run solely by people that live here, funded by National Lottery money. The aim is to tackle the issues at the heart of this community. Today, a work club's taking place to help local people find jobs.
We help them write CVs. A lot of people around here don't have computers, or if they... mainly because often they can't afford to have the internet. I remember one guy who used to come in and he used to really fret. Then he got a job, finally. And of course we didn't see him for a while. Then I ran into him in the street and nearly didn't recognise him because he looked so confident.
OK, in no time.
As well as Revolution helping with practical things like CVs and jobs, there's also a lot of fun that happens here, like this. These lot are playing bingo.
Before I started, I'd never gone bingo in my life. Never. And one day, one of the callers didn't turn up, and the caller we used to did, so I said, I'll do it, just for a laugh. And everybody seemed to sort of say, oh yeah, but he's good, he's clear, he's good. 6060. It gives me great satisfaction because, I say, with being disabled, I can get out, coming to the centre gets me out.
We were homeless at one stage, but we got a flat up here, and the people around here are just absolutely amazing. Can't knock them. This has actually helped me come out of my shell and get to know people and communicate with people.
It brings people all together, especially after the pandemic, you know what I mean? I live on my own, so I'm sat talking to the cat, and the cat's even started answering me back now.
Some of the other residents I spoke to off camera referred to Revolution as a lifeline. They mentioned the food pantry, offering discounted food, various clubs, and even door knocking from volunteers to check people are okay.
A lot of people say door knocking is a no-no. Well, it's really worked for us. You know, it's all about building that trust. We're a voice for the people in this area. We can speak to the council, we can speak to the NHS, we can speak to so many different people. Please come. Give us help. It's about people being able to aspire to things and to take their own lives in their own hands.
Although the funding behind Revolution is coming to an end in just a few months' time, the hub has registered to become a charity and says they're determined to continue their work for the people that live here for years to come. Molly Brewer, BBC North West Tonight, Blackpool.
Well, from Revo, a short hop across the water to the Isle of Man, and this lot in their matching hats and fetching jackets, more than 80 of them, all of them touched by organ donation, climbed the Isle of Man's highest peak this weekend. The Walk Up Snaefell brought them together online with others who were climbing 5 UK peaks for the same reason. The organisers hope that it will encourage people to talk about their wishes with friends and family. Ashley Tracy joined them.
Walking side by side to remember loved ones and to give thanks. Each person heading up to the Isle of Man's highest point has a connection to organ donation. As these Manx transplant recipients and organ donor families took on the sharp incline, others were doing the same across the British Isles at 5 other peaks. They all joined together online when they'd each finished their climbs, united by lives lost and lives saved. Over a quarter of the people were there in memory of Callum Moore, who died in a motorcycle crash earlier this year.
You just never think it's going to happen to you or your loved one, and I think for us we are definitely the lucky ones in knowing that Callum has done that for 3 other people and it's gone successfully, and now they have got the gift of life, and that's everything, isn't it?
People who received organs also joined the walkers. Ben has had multiple transplants following liver disease.
Well, for a long period of time since I fell ill, my life was on hold. I've got a future again. I've got a future with my family, my daughter. Hopefully get to see her walk down the aisle one day, to take her first driving lesson, all things like that, the simple things that people take for granted.
Diane Taylor was one of the organisers of the event. Her son Daniel died in a car crash in 2007, aged 15.
It is emotional today, but he's given the gift to 4 other people. Hopefully one of them is on one of the other peaks with us, and how special is that?
Work is ongoing on the island to create an opt-out system for donation known as Daniel's Law. Until then, Diane and other Manx campaigners hope the event will encourage people to talk about their wishes. Ashley Tracy, BBC North West Tonight, the Isle of Man.
Well done to all of them. Right, let's move straight on to sport. Richard is here. Pressure mounting on Manchester United's manager.
Really is, Roger, yeah. United losing 3-0 to Tottenham, but it was perhaps the manner of the defeat that was most damaging to the manager, Erik ten Hag, with some United fans calling for a change in the Old Trafford dugout. And with just 7 points from 6 Premier League games, the future of United's manager appears to be very much in the balance. The end of a terrible match for Manchester United and Erik ten Hag, after Spurs had well and truly rained on United's parade. Do you think Manchester United should stick with Erik ten Hag or make a change?
Make a change.
I'd give him a bit more time.
They backed him at the start of the season, so it's a bit early to be letting him go now.
We were terrible. We were terrible to watch.
We all made in togetherness this decision to stay together.
Another edition of the Devil's Advocate podcast. Manchester United 0, Tottenham Hotspur 3.
But after the euphoria of last season's FA Cup victory, once again on Manchester United phone-ins and podcasts, it's all about Ten Hag's future.
I think it leaves him with 2 games to save his job, and I think there needs to be serious signs of improvement on the pitch. I think you are really going to struggle after a performance like that. It's one of the worst Manchester United performances I've ever seen in my life. So he needs 2 wins, otherwise he's out.
Do you think he can save his job?
No, I don't. I feel like the players quite obviously aren't responding to him.
Some of the eye-catching results in the EFL included Blackburn Rovers, who are up to 3rd in the Championship after another victory at Ewood Park, 2-0 against QPR to maintain their 100% home record. Talking of 100% records, Steve Bruce made it 4 wins out of 4 since he has taken charge of Blackpool. The Seasiders are up to 4th after getting the better of Burton Albion 3-0. Bolton Wanderers are continuing to improve with their 2nd victory in a row. 2-0 at Crawley. Wigan drew 0-0, with Stockport County here salvaging a 1-1 draw in stoppage time at Barnsley. In the WSL, Manchester United is second only on goal difference to Chelsea after a 1-0 win at Everton. Liverpool drew 1-0 at West Ham, with Manchester City securing their first win of the season. Khadija Shaw with the only goal of the game at home to Brighton. 3 of our Rugby League Super League teams will line up in next weekend's semi-finals. After 2 thrilling eliminator playoffs, Lee Leopards, who got the better of Salford Red Devils, will face the champions Wigan Warriors on Saturday, with Warrington Wolves taking on Hull KR on Friday. The Wolves came through a titanic battle against St Helens to make the last 4, with a score all square up full-time. There you can see it. Golden point drop goal, George Williams with the clincher. That was a fantastic game, that, Roger. I haven't mentioned the cricket. As you know, Lancashire relegated from Division 1 over the weekend, but you're going to do that in detail tomorrow with Mark Chilton, the Director of Cricket.
Yeah, the Performance Director. Yeah, we will. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you. I remember a few years ago we did a story about a dog and a duck who'd become best friends. Well, tonight it's Gilbert, the pot-bellied pig, and Miss Coco, that's her, a Polish hen. Their friendship has blossomed at the Wilmslow Animal Sanctuary in Cheshire in recent years. Check it out. It's now endeared them to fans around the world on social media. Don't they look sweet? It's like a Valentine's card. Ian Haslam has been to see them.
This is what friendship looks like. Gilbert and Miss Coco, a pig and a hen in perfect harmony.
And what is it about their chemistry that makes it so special?
I think because it's quite unique. I haven't seen many pigs and chickens getting along the way that they do. We've had pigs and hens that all sort of coexist, but not that snuggle and spend time like these two.
It's not like there aren't other friend options for the pair at the sanctuary, in particular for Miss Coco.
She came to us from a guy who had backyard hens, and she was the last of his group, and he didn't want to get any more, so we brought her in. We tried introducing her to our existing hens, and she just didn't want to know. She was not interested. And then we found her in his field. One day she walked round and just made herself at home, and she's been here ever since.
What is not to like about this site? Apparently Miss Coco does this quite a lot, travels on the pig's back. He's 12 stone, he's not going to be minded by her weight, which is minimal at best. What a nice friendship this is, though.
It's quite a good social behaviour for chickens. They kind of groom each other.
Yeah.
So she does the same to him. She gets in all his little crevices and picks all his dead skin off and keeps him in good condition.
Yeah, I don't think I want anybody getting in my crevices, personally.
What are you doing? You're being good. Come here, Percy.
Back in 2010, North West Tonight reported on the growing number of people buying what they thought were micro pigs, who then rapidly outgrew the description.
The Bradys were told he'd grow to be about knee-high, but over the next few weeks he just got bigger and bigger.
He stays out in the garden in the day, and he likes to come and have his tea with us at night, and he does sleep in the kitchen. We've had to buy the biggest dog basket.
But Gilbert's owners weren't as keen to keep him.
He's supposed to be a micro pig, but there is no such thing. So he is a very small breed of pig, or a small mix. He's got pot belly in him. They got him as a piglet, and they were told he's a micro pig, he won't get any bigger.
Yeah.
And then obviously he did. And he was living in a flat in Salford, and it didn't really work out, so they asked if we'd take him, and he's just been here ever since, living his happy little life.
A life documented on social media with Miss Coco and without. Gilbert's wowed his online fans as Wonder Woman, Princess Leia from Star Wars and assorted others.
Just sort of grew. People seem to really enjoy it, so it's all just good enrichment for them. She's just always with him. Everywhere he goes, she's his little shadow. Just the odd couple.
An accurate summary for this pair of pals. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
There you go. That's put a smile on your face. Now we'll get the weather. Terrible conditions. Driving conditions are rotten.
Yes.
Got flood warnings. We've got a bit of flooding in a couple of places.
We do. Lots of warnings in force, Roger, including a yellow warning, and that's valid till 8 o'clock tonight. The worst of the rain is starting to push away. A couple of pictures that you sent through. Liverpool, I mean, you can see umbrellas, lots of water out and about. Look at the little ducks. I mean, they had to get out of the water, didn't they? A lot of water out and about. So do take it easy if you are out and about on the roads. If you'd like to send me in your pictures, please do follow me on socials, or better yet, join me on BBC Weather Watchers. So that yellow warning that I mentioned, this is valid until 8 o'clock tonight. The rain continuing to be heavy in eastern parts of Greater Manchester, pushes away to the southeast. Before it fully clears as we head overnight tonight, there will still be further outbreaks of rain, but the heaviest will clear through. You can see that area of low pressure sinking away. Good news is high pressure starts to build in from the north, so settled conditions are heading our way. I know it doesn't feel too pleasant out and about at the minute, and if you are driving or planning to head out through this evening, do take it easy. You can see the rain does become lighter and patchy. It fragments, it starts to sink down. By the end of the night, we'll be dry with clearing skies and a mild night, blustery too. 9 to 12 degrees. A much better day to come then tomorrow. It should be largely dry and bright with good spells of sunshine. The risk of the odd shower or two for Pennine areas, but elsewhere it should stay largely dry. The best of it to be on the Isle of Man, with temperatures tomorrow coming in at around about 15 degrees. And high pressure continues to stay with us then as we head through the week. Now, Roger, I'm just going to interrupt my own forecast for a quick moment, if you don't mind. Cast your mind back to this time last Monday. Do you remember?
I do.
Do you remember? Well, a lovely chap did a little portrait, didn't he, of you?
Oh, my word. Did you go to Southport and buy that in
Katie
Bernardo's?
Walderman, good friend Katie. She has been and got it for you.
Oh,
and
my
now we
goodness.
can keep it.
Well, isn't that magnificent? Well, now listen, had you finished the weather then?
I just was excited to get to this, that's why.
Listen, tell everyone the outlook. We've got 40 seconds left. Is it going to be all right for the rest of the week?
Absolutely perfect. High pressure is in charge for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. The next rain is going to return for the weekend. So the rain overnight tonight will clear through. It will be better tomorrow. And then high pressure builds. You see, we've been messing around with timings all day.
I had no idea. I've been sitting at my desk diligently all afternoon.
And I've had the giggles all day, and I keep saying I've got a really good Monday vibe. Look, Tom did it.
Think? Tom, well done. That's very good, actually.
And Tom, look at his tie. It's not quite the same one.
It's in the
but he
cupboard
still
outside.
does have the blue tie.
OK, well, from me and my portrait, thank you for watching. Have a lovely evening. Good night.